Hey guys, history shows that Jews have been living consistently in the land of Israel for more than 3,000 years. If you look at all the historic periods in the last 3,000 years, you see that Jews were living in the land. The biblical period from the year 1050 BC to 586 BC. Then the Babylonian period from 586 BC to 538 BC. Then the Persian period from 586 BC to 330 BC. And then the Hellenistic period from 330 BC to 167 BC. And then again the Jewish period, the Hashmonite period, which is from 167 BC to 70 CE. All right, so it's already 1,000 years. Okay, and then you have the Roman period from the year 70 CE to the year 638 when the Arabs invaded the land. And then you have the Arab period. The Arab period from 634 to the year 1099 when the Crusade invaded. So it's already 2,000 years of constant Jewish presence in the land. And then you have the Crusaders, right? The Crusaders, so they were ruling from 1099 to the year 1267. That would be a good end for the Crusade period. And then you have the Mamluk period, okay? So the Mamluk period is from 1267 to 1517 when the Ottoman came. And all along, Jews were living in the land. And then you have the Ottoman period, all right, which is from the year 1517 to the year 1917 when in World War I, when the British conquered the land, okay? And then, of course, you have the British Monarch of Palestine when many Jews came to the land because of modern Zionism and because of the British Monarch, which was created by the international community in order to restore Jewish sovereignty in the Jews' historic homeland. And then you have 1948 when Israel was declared independent. Okay, so so Jews have been living consistently in the land of Israel for more than 3,000 years. Check this out. So this is a 10 agorot coin from Israel. Okay, so one side it has the menorah, which is the symbol of the Jews. All right, and then if you flip it up, it has 10. See, it's 10 agorot. So 10 agorot is 10% of 1 shekel, 1 Israeli shekels, okay? All right. Now over here I wrote numbers, all right? So we're going to flip the coin for each year. And if it's showing the menorah, then we're gonna choose this number and we're gonna write it down on the paper, and accordingly we will choose a year, okay? All right, let's see. You ready? Okay, so I made these numbers. Let's see if it's the year 1,000 or not. Okay, I'm going to roll the dice. Okay, so it's the year 1,000. All right. It's the year 1,000. Now, which century? Let's check it out. I'm going to roll it again. Can you see? So which one? Let's see if it's 2. Okay. If it's 2, then it's going to be the year, the 12th century CE. Okay. It's not. Okay, let's see. Maybe it's the 13th century. Let's see. I'm going to roll my coin. It is. Okay, so it's already the 13th century CE. Okay, let's choose a generation. So let's see. Is it the first generation? Let's see. We're going to roll the dice. Let's see what's the number. It is. All right. So it's the year 10, 1310. Okay. Hold on for a second. So since we chose the year 1310, as you can see, this is the year. Can you see it? Right. So I can already tell you that the year 1310 is a year during the Mamluk period. And during that time, Jews lived in the land of Israel. Of course they did, okay? Now, Jews at that time lived mainly in Gaza and in Jerusalem, but also in Safed and some towns in the Galilee. And the reason for that is that the year 1310 is right after the crusade period was over, okay? And the crusaders, they massacred a great number of Jews in the land, and they destroyed the Jewish community in Jerusalem, the Jewish community in Ramla, the Jewish community in Haifa, the Jewish community in all the shore areas. And but there was, during the crusade period, there were a wave of Jews coming from the exile, from France, from Spain, from Italy, and also from North Africa, and they started to create a new generation of Jews living in the land. Now, in Akko, which is a big port city right next to Haifa, there was a very big Jewish community, very big. But that was during the Crusade period, when the last Crusader city was Akko, and the Muslims conquered it in the year 1291, and they massacred everyone over there, including the Jews. All right. So in the year 1310, this is the beginning of the Mamluk period. The Sultan lives in Cairo, and the land of Israel is just an area that is like a buffer zone between them to Syria. And actually, in 1310, I can tell you that even in that specific time, there was even a Mongolian invasion to the land. And the Mongols, actually, they took over the land for maybe a year or something like this. I think it was in the year 1305 or something like this. The Mongols invade the land a bunch of times during the Crusade and during the Mamluk period, and whenever they came and they massacre and they rape and they destroy. Some of them even settled in the land. But ever since the Mamluks conquered Jerusalem and they drove off the Crusaders, they allowed the Jews to return to live in Jerusalem. So the Jews slowly rebuilt their community. And they already started in 1267. Rabbi Nachman, Aramban, he reestablished the Jewish community in Jerusalem, and he built a small synagogue, and he brought Jews from all sorts of areas. So by 1310, there was already a substantial Jewish community in Jerusalem. There was also a community in Hebron. There was also a community in Safed. Tiberias was still destroyed. So I would say that in 1310, actually, the strongest community was probably in Gaza. Yes, that's correct. Okay. All right. So you see, even in 1310, which is I would say this is actually the 14th century CE, the Jews were living in the land. I can tell you that if you ask me for famous people that live in famous Jewish people that live in the land during that time, I can tell you it will be Ishtori. Okay, so Ishtori is just one, but probably the most famous one. But so anyone that knows about the land of Israel know that Ishtori came from France, is a Jew, and he came and he settled in the land and wrote a very important book called Kaftor Perach. Over there, he toured all the land and he found which place is related to the biblical mention of. So this is biblical Basra, this is biblical Ramla, this is biblical Betulilia, or whatever. And he wrote about the plants, about the animals. So it's and we still have it. It's in Hebrew. So, but another thing that is very important to know is that the Jews in the land were ruled by the sons of the Nagid. Okay, so the Nagid was a Jewish leader, and he was sitting in Egypt. All right, and he was an ancestor of Maimonides. Maimonides was a very famous Jewish scholar who lived during the Crusade period. He lived in the land and also he lived in Egypt. A very famous doctor as well, very famous scientist as well. And he came from Spain, of course. He was very important. So after he died, his sons became the Nagid, the rulers of the Jews of Jerusalem. The Jews of Egypt, None of Israel, Syria, and Lebanon. And in the year 1310, I think it was maybe his grandson rule. I forgot. Maybe I think maybe it's David. I think I can check it out, of course. Okay. All right. Thank you. Bye bye.